Hi everyone, my name is Zack Snipes and I'm a County Extension Agent for the Clemson University Cooperative Extension Service. I work with farmers in the low country of South Carolina, primarily fruit and vegetable farmers. I work with them from before they plant the seed till after they sell the plants and everything in between, keeping their plants healthy. I also get to work with researchers from all the southeastern states as well as Clemson University's researchers from our research stations. My job there is to disseminate the information that they're learning from their research trials and get farmers to adopt it on their farms. And today we're going to meet one of those farmers on Edisto Island, Mr. Harleston Tolles with Rooting Down Farms. Harleston, thanks for having us out today and welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for coming.
Yep. So as a lot of folks know, farming is not for the faint of heart. So how did you get into this and how have you been successful so far?
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of fun, but it comes with its challenges, just like anything. But we got our start on Johns Island. I started working with Side-Eye Limehouse and Louise Bennett of Rosebank Farms. That was almost 3 years of invaluable experience. My family was involved in farming throughout the 1800s, early mid to late 1900s on Young's Island, Edisto, Wadmalaw, etc. And but they kind of got out of it as my dad was coming in. He didn't care to do it, so it kind of skipped a generation, and I learned most of what I know now through trial and error and my experience there. So
sure, and what a great mentor, because Side-Eye was our 2019 South Carolina Farmer of the Year. So
that's right. Yeah, and he's still a great mentor. I call on him from time to time, he and Louise, for growing questions, market stuff, equipment issues, or improvements. So, and there's a handful of other guys around here too, Dare McCoy, senior, the late senior, and the junior. They're also wonderful resources, and I'm very, very glad to know them and rely on them from time to time.
Sure. So tell us a little bit about what you grow.
It can be upwards of 25, 30, upwards of maybe 40 different things.
And you're growing year-round, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. We operate a CSA, if you're familiar with it. I know you are, but the listeners, the viewers, CSA program is where the farmer picks out a selection of whatever's fresh that week on the farm and delivers it to his customers around town. We operate something similar. Traditionally, those are purchased in advance of the season, and people will sign up for a whole season. The 20 bag, which is our model, the customer can go week to week.
So if you're out of town on vacation or something like that,
right,
you're not committed to getting vegetables that week.
That's right. Nothing goes to waste, and we do try to keep that rolling throughout the year. We encourage people to eat seasonally. I think it's good for your health, your mind, and it's that natural progression that I think we should always kind of flow with.
Sure. So feeding people, especially in the local community, is important, and I know you're a big supporter of supporting local and that sort of thing, and one of your missions is keep ag on the island. So what does that mean to you?
It means a lot, but the Sea Islands have a long history of agriculture. The soil is perfect for it. In a lot of cases, it's a sandy loam or sandy soil, which allows the plant's roots to drain excess moisture. It's not usually filled with clay of any kind. So it's always been suited soil-wise, climate-wise. We, as we said, grow all throughout the year. Mm-hmm. It's cooler in the summer. We have the sea breeze that kind of keeps it cooler than the.
And it gets warmer earlier in the season.
And then warmer earlier. I've got squash back here on black plastic to kind of get a jump on the season. But again, such a long history here. With Sea Island cotton, indigo, of course the Native Americans were growing plenty of what they needed to survive, and then truck crops, as they call them, vegetables, They came about in the latter part of the 1800s, early 1900s, and had a heck of a run there.
Yeah, Charleston was like the breadbasket of before a lot of production was in California. Most of the U.S. production was here, and we shipped to the northern markets.
That's right. Yeah, so I'm a history buff and love history, so it's kind of a shame to see it all fall by the wayside. You still see old sheds with old equipment from days gone by, but what will never leave is the soil that is so perfect for it all.
Yep.
The drainage ditches are still here, and they can be cleaned and renovated. So, as we often say, the bones are still here.
Yep.
So really, there's no reason that it all shouldn't be used. We're so happy to be able to provide the what you see here to folks across the low country every week.
Well, you mentioned a little bit about how the climate here allows us to grow things in the soil, and you mentioned this black plastic. What is this black plastic, and can you tell us why you're using it?
Yeah, several different reasons, but early on in the season, mid-March and early March, when we laid it out, it's to warm the soil. Mm-hmm. And when you've got warmer soil, you've got warmer microbes, and the plants can more easily take off and get that jump start that we want. Obviously, it keeps the weeds down, they're almost non-existent, and it keeps a nice even moisture throughout the bed. It doesn't evaporate as it would without, which saves us water. Yep. And also soil splash. If you've got a bare ground plant that's just planted straight in the dirt, rainfall hits and you have that soil splash up underneath the undersides of the leaves, and that can obviously lead to
diseases, food safety issues.
Right. So we've got a lot of the products we use are biologically and naturally based anyways, but we have even less of a reliance on
inputs,
fungicides and even insecticides. As an unhealthy plant is always more open to insect pressure than a healthy one. The
spring we use the black plastic to heat up the soil, but in the fall, last time I was here, I believe the plastic was white. So
That's right.
What's the difference there?
The black warms the soil, the white cools it.
Okay.
And that kind of, I wouldn't say it gives you a jump start in the fall, but it...
you can plant in the dead of summer when it's probably too high.
Right, and you could always, again, go bare ground, but leaves you with some of those issues that we had already talked about. Yeah, it cools the soil. Again, that even moisture in the summertime when there's so much evaporation happening.
Right.
You just have that nice even bed, and it just kind of stays consistent throughout.
Sure. So we talked about the black plastic, but here we got some stuff direct seeded in soil, and you were telling me about a technique that you were trying that you picked up from another farmer. Yeah,
so obviously we don't grow everything on plastic. There's certain crops that are spaced so close that it's not possible to put it on plastic. Anyways, this is a lettuce mix. It's gorgeous. It's just coming up, but it's generally pretty fast. We need a drive row to pull the truck down to harvest squash and harvest cucumbers, but until that happens, it's just wasted space.
So it adds value in a space that you wouldn't have gotten any
would have
value from.
otherwise gone.
But you would have had to weed it otherwise.
Yeah, and you're just tilling the soil, obviously keeping the soil covered with something is always a good idea.
So what's one crop? You get one crop the rest of your life to grow. What are you growing?
Collards.
Collards. All right. Why? Why collards of all things?
I love to eat collards. It's such a nourishing. Collards or kale, any of the big leafy greens like that.
Well, it is our state vegetable. So
that's
true. I thought that's what you were going for.
Well, I'm from here, and I've grown up with collards and eaten them my whole life. And they're fairly easy to grow. They do well here, and they're gorgeous.
We've talked a lot about vegetables, but you recently received in a competition an award from the South Carolina Department of Agriculture to grow another interesting crop. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was through the ACRE program. That's it's an entrepreneurial division of the Department of Ag. What we submitted was the art of growing citrus under an overstory of what, any kind really, but we chose pine trees.
And what's the advantage of growing it under pine trees versus growing in an open field situation?
Yeah, well, the pines is just what I had on this new piece of property. So we're kind of working with what we've got, but it works out perfect because pines, their foliage is obviously evergreen, so it keeps foliage on through the winter.
Okay.
And which provides overhead cover for the citrus trees.
Okay.
You know, we are using colder hardy varieties, Meyer lemons, Satsuma mandarin oranges, and grapefruit. They're fairly cold hardy, but every little bit of protection and assistance
Every
helps.
half a degree matters.
No doubt. And they do benefit from some bit of shade.
Yeah, and it's all about that plant health. The healthier the plant is, the more it will be able to fend off diseases and insects and just be healthier.
Right. And Florida, as you know, maybe some of the viewers do too, but Florida is having a really hard time with their citrus crop and their tree health.
Greening. Yep.
Citrus greening has affected over half of their trees throughout the state, and it's probably even more so. It's probably more than that now. It's killing trees left and right, and they are searching high and low for a solution. One of their researchers at the University of Florida has found that shade treatments do provide a whole lot of benefit, and trees have rebounded, almost instantly within a year. So whether you can implement that on a large scale in an existing grove with shade cloth and stuff like that, I don't know. A fast growing overstory tree, I don't know if that's possible either, but new plantings, it should certainly be looked at.
Sure. So that's what you're doing, and we also have some research trials on citrus at our Coastal Research and Education Center, and we're also looking at cold hardiness, what varieties do better in the cold. And I know you and I talk a lot, we nerd out about citrus a lot together, so I'm really excited to see where this project goes.
Yeah, well, we're very thankful for your efforts during the last freeze too, Zach, because some of your stuff did fine, and others got walloped. So we know that now, and we know what to maybe first protect in the event of a extreme freeze like that. So thanks.
Sure. Yep. Harleston, I know you've been a big supporter of Clemson Extension, and you host a lot of on-farm trials for us, and it really helps us out, but it in turn helps you out and the other growers that you work with. So we're appreciative of that. But one thing that you and I have talked about a lot in your career, my career, is how do we incorporate a farmscape or a landscape into the farm to help you be a better farmer? And so I know you leave a lot of flowers in your field. You purposely grow flowers. For what reason?
To kind of create that natural farmscape. So often, I guess, chemically intensive farms can just look so sterile and so barren. Even with all the green they have growing, there's no, it's just that one thing or two things or whatever. So, and from a pest perspective, that's like easy pickings.
Pests can really hone in on that all-you-can-eat buffet there.
Correct. The majority of the time, we're leaving it for those natural predators.
To keep them here.
Right. The beneficial insects, the pollinators, but the natural predators, I mean, that's free pest control.
Well, do you have any advice for any homeowners that want to encourage natural enemies in their home gardens?
You can kind of just let stuff go wild, and if it starts to become a problem, then you can manage it. But your native grasses, a lot of times, clovers and stuff that are coming up. I mean, people are diehard about getting rid of clovers in their yard and lawns and stuff. But man, it's a great ground cover. It's a leguminous crop that actually feeds your lawn. So working with what you got so often is kind of seems to be the way to go. I mean,
enhancement rather than augmentation.
Right. It's just another input. Whereas we've got the inputs right here that that God has provided. I mean, why not work with that first?
Sure. Well, cool. Well, thanks for your time today and showing us around, and we wish you the best.
Thanks for coming.
All right.